Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Poker Face, Season 2, Episode 9. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately introduced to by Maddie and Anne. Anne is the grandmother, and Maddie is the granddaughter, but they're trying to run this kind of rent control scheme because if anything happens to Anne, she can only pass down her rent-controlled apartment to a spouse or a child, so she needs to legally adopt her adult granddaughter, Maddie, to kind of be able to kind of keep that going, because they've been living together, because we find out later on, Maddie got kicked out by her parents at high school, and basically her grandmother took her in, and they've kind of been living together ever since, which was like, oh, that's really sweet. They sit down, watch Michael Clayton, which I've never seen. I'm not a movie guy. But also, they sit down to watch a lot of Jeopardy, too, which is really sweet. I mean, I remember going over to my own grandmother's house, watching, like, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune from time to time. Be like, if I'm over there late enough, like, in the evening, it'd be like, that'd be on, so... Either way, tangents and all that side. Obviously, Maddie, played by Aquafina. I saw like a thumbnail for this episode, and I couldn't make it. I was like looking at a picture. I was like, that looks like that's Aquafina. It turned out to be Aquafina. But the person that kind of threw me for a loop was when he saw Anne. I was like, that actress looks so familiar. Then I saw her name in the credits. It's Lauren Tom. I was like, that name seems so familiar. And I recognized her from The Weirdest Thing. I recognize her as Kevin's mom in Supernatural. The reason why that's weird, because I looked at her filmography, apparently she was only in 3 episodes. I was like, that's such a weird role. Even though like I'm a big Supernatural fan, for that to be my association is so weird. But the other thing I looked through and found out is like she's a pretty prolific voice actress, because one of her main roles, I saw her name for Futurama. I was like, who is she in Futurama? Amy. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I haven't seen Futurama in a while, so like the name didn't even click or correlate in my head that she's Amy. I was like, man, that's great. And also like the laundry list of like other like voiceover work she's done over the years is crazy. Like the family that lives near Hank and his family in King of the Hill, her character's name is Connie. I'm pretty sure that's the wife of like that kind of like, oh God, that family that lives near them. I think Connie's the wife, if I remember correctly. I'm not the most prolific like King of the Hill person. I've seen bits and pieces over the years, but not a lot. But anyway, I just highly recommend you go through the like her list of like her filmography. You're just kind of like, oh, this, and this. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, I'm going on my massive tangent. I love we got David Allen Greer as the as Otto, who's like a very stickler, because he's the landlord, so he's very strict about rules, so he doesn't like them staying in an apartment that's dirt cheap. But along the way, Anne runs into Kate, is her alias initially, played by Aaliyah Shawkat, which I was like, hey, that's dope. Playing such a sinister character, because I think she pops up in a lot of comedic roles, but obviously like the role I've kind of got to know her best from is The Old Man, which is a very dramatic role. So kind of her in this like obviously crime drama comedy setting, but also being so like unhinged and sinister. It's not so far off from what I've kind of seen of her in like The Old Man. It's a different character obviously, but like some of that darkness is in her portrayal of her character in The Old Man, and this it's like I could see the parallels. It's just interesting. And immediately the way they start that off, where it's kind of like, oh my God, they like her and meet over a plum and her biting it, and you can tell like, oh my God, and it's flabbergasted and just kind of like awestruck. You're like, oh, pitter patter of our heart. I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And then later on you see like she's so in love when she's sitting down watching Jeopardy with Maddie. Then Maddie comes home one day and finds Kate going down on her grandmother, which is like, oh, and then she ends up accidentally pepper spraying herself in the face. I was like, that is kind of a traumatizing thing of not only do you not think of your grandparent in a sexual manner, not only then into like, well, so, I thought about you and grandpa, I had no idea that you were into women. It's like, no, I loved your grandpa, but back in the day, I kind of got around, with plenty of lovers, whether it was men and women, and kind of get to come back to that a little bit later on. Like, and Maddie's like, hey, if you're happy, Nana, I'm happy for you too. And I was like, that's really sweet and accepting of like, yeah, your Nana needs love too. So that's sweet. But then it's just kind of like, I don't trust this lady because like she, a young woman coming after your grandmother, especially a very nice rent controlled place like this, you smell kind of the like gold digger a little, like not too far away. So then also she's kind of ruining your dynamic. You're trying to watch Michael Clayton. You've watched it like 800 times, but you know it's your grandma's favorite movie. But then like she's shitting on it, being like, oh, it's a boring movie. Like all they're doing is talking. It's like, I mean, funny enough, just talking movies are some of people's favorite movies, become the classics, So, and her grandmother just been like, it's fine, it's not that big of a deal, it's just a movie. It's like, but no, it means a lot. She's like, I know this movie is your favorite. I know how important it is for you, and you're basically kind of pushing that aside because you're so madly in love with Kate. So, giving the opportunity, I mean, while they're like basically humping like rabbits and just like, hey, grandma like Anne was getting off because she's screaming yes, 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 that Maddie ends up taking her ID and ends up like getting her friend Ricardo to like run the records and finds out, hey, she's a criminal. In fact, she's got warrants out for her arrest in different places. There's been some assaults and stuff like that. But then she proceeded to show how scary she can be because she's like, oh, I'm the type of person that's capable of all of this stuff in here. What do you think I would do if I was threatened? I was like, because I didn't know where this was going. I was like, are we going to make Aquafina the killer? And it's like, no, Aaliyah Shawkat's character of Kate's going to be the killer. And it's like, oh, that sucks. You're going to kill, because we don't know what Maddie's family situation is. Like, her parents are probably still out there fine, but she probably doesn't have a good relationship with her, like, child, with and probably doesn't have a good relationship with Maddie's parents, considering, like, I mean, they never really come up outside of knowing that. So they might still be out there and fine, but it's probably like, you kind of feel like Maddie's like the only like close family she's got anymore. So for her to orchestrate, as Charlie puts it later on, this Rube Goldberg contraption death, changing the lock on the door, having descaler and then having bleach mix into it, and basically like ended up gassing Maddie, which is like a horrendous way to die. And it's just because she was trying to like I said, like it's so interesting because like you're wondering, like at first you're like, could Maddie be the killer? Because especially the way Kate tried to frame it, because it's like Maddie's coming at it from, I know you're just after my grandmother's place. That's all you see, like some older woman you can take advantage of in her place. And then Kate tried to turn it on her. It's like, well, it's sad that when you look at your grandmother, that's all you see is a rent-controlled place. It's like, don't try to turn this on me. You're the one after. I see you for what you are. I'm not going to let you take advantage of her. Because that's not like just like a Maddie's taking advantage of the situation. It's like that's a situation where like Anne like wants Maddie to have it. So it's like, yeah, like that's a them thing. Like, especially because like this is the person that took her in all those years ago when she got kicked out by her parents. So, but kind of strip her of it and just be like reading a book and just looking at your watch and just smiling so devilishly while you're having it, like no guilt or whatever. It's just self-preservation of like, oh, you're going to report me? Nah, I'm going to kill you first. And then planning on like later on plans to, well, the point was always going to be to marry her. I don't think the point was always going to be to murder her until like push came to shove. So it was like, hey, let's get together. Let's get married real quickly so I can murder you. And as your spouse, I can take this place as my own, because this place can only go to your kid and your spouse. So, but yeah, after Maddie's death, rewind and get understand how Charlie got here. Apparently her good buddy owns a place, rents a place here that he keeps for tax purposes. And Charlie is, moving in, staying there, which is like, hey, like getting like a comfy bed is kind of nice. It's like, wow, like, she doesn't really get these moments. She's always kind of on the road and, shabby place. But now it's like, oh, this place is actually really comfortable. I love her running into Otto, who's like, oh, you're not subletting, are you? She's like, no, I'm here to like take care of my friend's cat. Oh, a pet? That's so much worse. She's like, you didn't let me finish. I meant cactus. He's like, well, they need to be watered only every 10 days, so I better not be seeing you around that much. I'm like, I don't know what Charlie could have necessarily said to alleviate that situation. Could you have been like, I don't, because he would have been suspicious of her. She was like, I'm house sitting. It's like he still would have been like, no. So he's such a sticker. I even love later at one point she shows up and he's like, hey, Cactus Lady, I see you. And she turns around, starts running. He's like, I still see you even though you're running down the hallway. I love that sequence. Her also running into her meeting. I believe she met Kate, or rather, I actually don't remember Kate's real name now. Amelia, was that it? Met her at that place, and she was asking Abdul for a job, which is so funny to see that they're both in that. This is the only scene they're in together, which is just interesting because the actor who plays Abdul, his name is I'm hoping I'm not butchering it. It's Pej Vahid, I believe. I might be butchering his last name. I'm so sorry. But they're actually in a show. I referenced The Old Man with Aaliyah Shawkat. They're both in The Old Man, but like they're never in any scenes together. At least I don't think they are. I mean, it wouldn't be with just the nature of who their characters are. But it's just kind of funny, like, oh, you're reunited and you're only literally in one scene together in this episode, which I think is kind of interesting. But like that actor, I know him probably. My first introduction to him was probably Bones. He was one of the like rotation of interns that was throughout the show. I don't remember like whoever got the job finally. I don't think he ever did he? I think they settled on an intern at one point in the show. I don't think it was him, but maybe it was. I don't remember. Either way, once again, my tangents and all that. But I just little like, filmography, like crossover, little thing like that. I thought was kind of neat. But her introduction to Kate just being, hey, this fruit isn't what I wanted. I want to exchange it for like 4 mangoes or whatever. And then Charlie being like, oh, calling her out for a bullshit. But then she was like, right, the whole point of being in New York, you're surrounded by bullshit. She's like, I'm always kind of getting wrapped up in other people's stuff. So, hey, there's so much bullshit going on. I can end up keeping it myself, leave everything as it is, none of my business. But then, like, you can tell Kate's like the opportunist that she is because she was like, oh, I'm going to get to know you better or something like that. And Charlie's like, I know you're bullshitting me, but I still appreciate the offer because it's like, oh, she's trying to make moves and take advantage. Sadly, I'm not in the same position as, and so you wouldn't be getting much out of me because I'm a person that's like on the road. So I'm actually, no, I have the, I got it wrong because I just remember she met Maddie before she met Kate. But by the time she met Kate, Anne and Kate hadn't met yet. That might have been like the same day that they ended up ultimately meeting. I think so because that might have been what, I think she was still wearing that exact same outfit from when her and Anne met. But yeah, she met Maddie in the laundry room because we found out about the door situation that Otto is so cheap he refuses to fix anything, so the door constantly locks. So Maddie constantly has to like break the door off its hinges, unlike screw the hinges so that the door comes down. And I love her being like, oh, you want to watch Jeopardy or whatever? And she's like, oh, like, yeah. It just seems like I'm constantly getting drawn into stuff. It seems like I can't escape it. She's like, no, I'm talking about Jeopardy. And she's like, the TV show is like, oh, okay. Yeah, fuck yeah. Who doesn't love Jeopardy? And kind of participates and hits it off, obviously, with Anne and Maddie, meets Ricardo, gets an understanding of, like, right, he works at a library and stuff. The whole conversation about, like, don't judge a book by its cover thing. She was trying to get a job from Abdul. She was trying to get one from Ricardo. And Maddie's like, yo, I could hook you up with a job. But I love her actual job ended up being like, oh, I'm a CAPTCHA technician, which I'm like, is that a real job? It's like she's the one that dictates, like, I think she was saying like what people have to do to like get the CAPTCHA for things. I was like, that has to probably be a real job. I've just never thought about that. And I love that lady was like, I got a coffee and I got an extra one. They gave me an extra one. And Charlie's like, what? Why? She's like, I don't know. She's like, you were over here tapping away at your keyboard. You look so sad. I just felt like you needed something. She's like, no. I'm doing this as a job. It's like, all right, I'll take the coffee. Oh, wait, it's not a black coffee. She's like, oh, man, I lied. And Charlie's like, no, it's okay. Because, Charlie, has an issue with a lie. So she, it's like, no, you didn't lie because you thought it was the truth. They're the ones that lie. But she's like, no, I can exchange. She's like, no. I think Charlie did that in retrospect, at the time, I think that was her just trying to be sensible and nice. So like, no, I'll accept it. It's fine. You went through all this trouble. It's fine. I don't want you to trouble yourself. But I think it's also like, hey, I want you to just get this coffee because I don't want to get dragged into whatever drama you might, like me getting close to you might in fact set course, like a set of situations that could come back to blow up in my face. But the lady was like, yeah, sorry about that. Like, at least pay it forward, which she tries to do later on when she finds out about Maddie's death and ends up bringing a pineapple and meets Kate's like, something about you doesn't sit right with me. There's something funky going on here. And obviously she learned from the lady that sits outside who used to be a journalist who worked for Vague. She's like, no, you must mean Vogue. It's like, nope, different publication. What did they do? I love the literal vague answer of, well, this or that. And she's like, okay. But yeah, that's how she found out about Maddie, what happened to her. And finding out like the door got locked. So when she runs into Otto, she's like, it's your fault for not replacing stuff. He's like, I did. And she's like, wait, you're telling the truth. They investigate and she's like, oh, this was kind of a murder situation. And she's like, I'm sorry, Otto, I just got to ask it. He's like, did you murder Maddie? It's like, no. Why would I? It's like, oh, I thought you knew about the whole rent control scam they're running. He's like, they were running a rent control scam, so it kind of sucks that that Charlie kind of exposed him, but it's kind of a moot point now. But it's like, he's like, if I did know, I would have killed her. And I love that Charlie's like, wow, you are telling the truth. He's like, you didn't murder her, but you would have if you had the opportunity. He's like, yes. She's like, you're like, how like okay with you saying that? Like, you're so okay with saying that, it's scary. And his only takeaway from it is, I don't feel as bad because I'm not liable, because I'm not the one who orchestrated it. So who cares who else murdered her? As long as I'm not viable for her murder or her death, it's not on me. So who cares? I'm like, wow, Otto, your care is so good. I was like, you're such a dick, Otto. But then she goes to Abdul asking him, and it turns out Abdul has face blindness. I thought he was just so like, yeah, I don't know who you are. She's like, really? I come here all the time. But he's like, yeah, I know people based on their orders. I can't make out faces. And it's like, oh. She's like, well, I'm this in this order. And he's like, oh my God, I love you. You're my favorite. She's like, oh, thanks. And, trying to figure out who ordered the door handle, because it's a different door handle. It's a more recent door handle versus the one that Otto got, which I love that that's the distinction of, I would never get the latest model. Of course, I'd get something that's newer but cheaper. So I thought that was kind of a neat like way to be like, yeah, this definitely wasn't the door handle I got. And it's like, oh, who was the person that came in here? Could have been this person. And he's like, I can't tell. She's like, really? You must got it bad. You can't even tell if it's a 70-year-old woman. He's like, sorry. But it's like, whoever it is, like, complains about fruit and, will complain about a fruit being bad and then wanting a different fruit in exchange, and immediately clicks on her head, hey, it was Kate who did this. The sad thing is that Kate wants to leave, Anne wants to leave this place. Obviously, you got a lot of memories tied to Maddie, so like you don't want to stay in this place anymore, so you want to bounce. But then it's like, here you have Kate being like, no, like it's understandable why. She's like, don't worry, in time, like everything else, this shall pass. I was like, that's so just disgusting. So she goes and confronts Ricardo because she finds out like, okay, Ricardo's the one that got the info from Maddie about Kate. And so she confronts him, pulls a knife on him, and then it's just kind of like hits him with the crazy eyes and it's like, have you ever been inside? And he's like, I mean, I've been inside all day. I was about to go out. She's like, no, inside is in prison. He was like, oh, no. She's like, then what's with all the tattoos? He's like, well, I'm a visual storyteller. I like visual storytelling. And she's like, well, one thing I learned in prison is anyone can get got. And I was just like, man, she's like, do you want me to come back? Because I can make an accident look like an accident. You get slip and fall, and people would never know why it could have been an accident, could have been something more. And then proceeds to also take the not painting, but the picture she has. She's like, oh my God, is that so-and-so type of picture? She's like, huh. Literally steals it off his wall and leaves. Then Charlie literally comes in, talks to him about stuff. She overhears all this, especially because Charlie's calling out Ricardo for his bullshit, because he wants to tell her, but he's scared because he's like, yo, that lady's crazy and she's going to kill me like she did Maddie. But then, she pulls the fire alarm, brought that picture down, broke the frame for it, slashed the throat of the woman in the picture just to make a point. It's like, wow, this woman is extra psychotic. I was like, yo, is she about to drop multiple bodies in her need to keep this apartment? But Ricardo bounces. Charlie confronts her, but there is no proof. Even though Charlie does know what she did and how she did it, she just doesn't have any proof. She got pretty tight with, Mikey, the firefighter, but he was like part of like off Broadway and he loved it, which apparently he still does the dance practices and stuff like that because it helps him distress, but also like, being a firefighter pays the bills. But yeah, like because of talking to Charlie and like about how good he is and hearing him practice and stuff, it made him kind of be inspired to go back to Broadway. So he's got auditions and stuff. And he's like, yo, you need any help, Charlie? I can help you out. And I'm so curious to see what role he was going to play. Wasn't expecting it to be what it is until Charlie got flung over the edge. I was like, oh, that's most likely what's waiting for her. But yeah, she came and told Anne the truth about everything, which just, that whole sequence of just like her being so conniving and manipulative, being like, oh, don't believe her, she's a crazy lady, like, no, none of that, like, because she's the one that's like pushing like, oh, we could go out, we should get married first and then we can go out and see the country. It's like, well, you also don't want to go around the country too much because there are certain places in the country you can't go because you're wanted. So, there's an element of that. But also her hugging her, being like, oh yeah, this and this about this place for $800. And then Anne's like, oh, $640. And just her eyes bugging me like, $640. Wow. It's like, that's a steal. It's like that place looking as lavish as it does for $640 a month. That's, once again, most people are like, in a comedic way, you're like, I'd kill for that place. But just on the principle of not being a shitty human being, you're like, that is fucked up to kill someone over a place. But once again, that's rent control, like prices where you're like, oh, you could kill for that, So, but yeah, without hesitation, her confronting Charlie and then just pushing her over the edge, thinking she killed her. But the fire department was below and they had one of those blow up things. Like they planned that out, so that worked out luckily. And then she was recorded and caught by Anne. I just love the whole like, you're fucked. It's like, yeah, this is my witness. It's like, man, you just lost your granddaughter. The woman you fell in love with turned out to be a complete and utter sociopath who murdered your granddaughter. It's pretty rough. And she is going to leave this place behind because there's too many memories and stuff, but it's just kind of there's no like, I mean, to be fair, none of these have like happy endings. It's just kind of like, yeah, she's been dealt with. She's going to go away because there's going to be extra time on her sentences because there are the warrants out for her arrest and stuff. So she's going down for a long time because it's like, well, you murdered someone and then you attempted to murder someone along with all the other your priors and your warrants out for you. Like, you're going away for a while. So, like I said, did not know what to expect from this episode. I do love this show, just kind of making you like, you think, well, could it go this way? And then it goes swerve, hits you and hits you from a completely different angle. So I'm excited to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us. We got 3 episodes left in the season. Took a while, but I am finally caught up. I just took most of the season to do it, but here we are. But like I said, I'm excited to see where the next episodes ends up taking us. Like I said, I'm so curious to see when Steve Buscemi's going to pop. Like, he's got to pop up like as himself, like not as himself, but his good buddy. I'm curious to find out the circumstances. I think I talked about it earlier in the season, maybe episode 5. I talked about it when I didn't realize he'd popped up earlier in the season. That's a whole thing. I'm not going to regurgitate all that all over again, but he probably won't pop up until the last episode of the season. But the question is he going to pop up as killer or victim? And that's going to be the really interesting thing. Or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just continue to be a voice on the radio for this season. But I highly doubt that. But we'll see. But yeah, enough running my mouth off. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.